A few months ago, I had a conversation with someone I really cared about, and that person ended up saying to me, "What would my love end up doing for you?" Hi, my name is Lee, and after that conversation, thankfully I downloaded Dispatch a couple days right before the final episodes were released. I went into the game without knowing anything about it, and I really ended up loving Dispatch. Dispatch is a game full of crazy, hurt, wonderful, and very relatable characters with stories and situations that are determined by your own choices. After finally finishing the game, I realized that Dispatch actually answered that question for me in a beautiful way. What does love do for you? I love the emotional depths of Dispatch and its characters, and I actually disliked a few of the characters so much in the beginning, but ended up loving them towards the end after really getting to know them, which made me realize that most of them ended up that way in the first place because of an absence of love to some degree, like Invisigal. At first, I had heavy suspicions of her, pretty much because of how much of a bad girl she seemed to be, but deep down, I knew that she must have had her reasons. In the beginning, Invisigal is caught spying on Robert and Blazer, and she tells everyone that she saw him in his underwear. She disobeys Robert's order, which ends up hurting Granny and letting a robber get away. She crushes a donut on Robert's desk and punches him. And at some point, she sabotages her coworkers. She does have a snoo dream about Robert, which eventually leads to her having feelings for him. But anyway, my impression of her was pretty bad at this point. That is, until I got to this part in episode 3. When I heard her opening up about her perspective on how her abilities make her seem like a bad person by default, I felt like I understood where she was coming from right away. Invisigal talks about her deep-seated resentment toward her superpower of invisibility, expressing her belief that powers inherently determine a person's moral trajectory. She compares herself to prominent heroes like Blonde Blazer and Phenomenon, whose powers she perceives as inherently good and are socially celebrated. She also argues with Robert that her power of being unseen predestines her for villainy because of how society views and associates the nature of her power as a bad thing. And I think this social narrative is what shaped her self-perception and role as a person. The fact that she even shares this with you is proof enough to me that she never truly wanted to be a bad person in the first place. And I think Invisigal came to be this way because of this sort of absence of love in her life. And by love, I don't just mean the kind that you get from partners, but I mean the kind of love that's supportive. Supportive in a way that comes from friends, family, and even, especially, peers. If you grow up without that kind of love, that kind of emotional support, it leads to things like having poor self-confidence, to becoming very approval-seeking, and waiting for others to tell them who they are, rather than being grounded in their own validation. There are moments in Dispatch where Invisigal portrays this with Robert, genuinely wanting his respect and approval, like when she left the donut at his computer. Before she crushed it, it seemed like she did that mostly as a kind gesture. So when Invisigal opened up to me in episode 3, I felt the goodness in her heart and decided that I wanted to support her and encourage her. This easily became one of my most favorite moments in Dispatch because it's moments like these in life where sharing love and kindness can really help, inspire, and even influence someone else in the best way. And I really wanted to root for Invisigal because I really saw a huge part of myself in her in some way. I know what it's like to go through life without any kind of emotional support, always putting other people first and valuing their perceptions of me instead of learning how to value my own perceptions of myself. I just didn't know any better at the time, and I didn't know that I had to learn how to love myself, which is exactly why love and support are so important. In order to be self-confident, you have to know how to love yourself. And if you grew up without having any sort of emotional support systems, it's only natural that you wouldn't know how to love and respect yourself. Living this way without knowing any better, without having that kind of support in your life, without that kind of love, it's miserable. In my first playthrough, I didn't choose to romance Invisigal, but I still really wanted to support her as a friend. At first, I was worried if she would be affected very negatively if I didn't choose her to be my partner, but thankfully, I think our bonds were strong enough so that it encouraged her to become the hero that she's always wanted to be towards the end of the game. In her good ending, you can actually see how much she's grown as a person because of what she ends up doing. And if you choose not to support Invisigal in any sort of way, you'll see just how much she's affected by that, leading her to embrace her villainous side. I know I'm not the one who's actually forcing Invisigal to be good or bad, because at the end of the day, the only person who gets to decide what to do or what to believe in is themselves. And of course, I'm not saying that people automatically become an evil person with evil intentions if they aren't loved, but I am saying that the absence or presence of love can really make a difference in a person's life, for better or worse. Love is everything. Love is all around us, and love gives life meaning. Love is in our ideals, our hopes and aspirations, and more importantly, love is infinitely within us. So, what can love do for you? Love can do anything and everything. Because when you think about it, what's the point of anything in life without love? Thank you so much for watching this video today. I am really grateful. And my heartfelt thanks to the creators of Dispatch and to Critical Role, because Dispatch is such an amazing game, and if you haven't played it yourself, I highly recommend playing it at least once. It is an amazing, amazing game. And Happy New Year. May you go forth in the new year with love and kindness. Thank you.